Wessex Poems and Other Verses ***** transcribed from the 1919 Macmillan and Company Wessex Poems and Other Verses, Poems of the Past and the Present edition by David Price. Email ccx074@pglaf.org. Wessex Poems and Other Verses by Thomas Hardy Macmillan and Co. Limited, St Martin's Street, London, 1919. Copyright Wessex Poems, 1st edition, Crown 8vo, 1898. New edition 1903. First pocket edition June, 1907. Reprinted January, 1909, 1913. Poems, Past and Present, 1st edition 1901, dated 1902, 2nd edition 1903. First pocket edition June, 1907. Reprinted January, 1908, 1913, 1918, 1919. Preface to Wessex Poems of the miscellaneous collection of verse that follows. Only 4 pieces have been published, though many were written long ago, and other partly written. In some few cases the verses were turned into prose and printed as such, it having been unanticipated at that time that they might see the light. Whenever an ancient and legitimate word of the district, for which there was no equivalent in received English, suggested itself as the most natural, nearest, and often only expression of a thought, it has been made use of, on what seemed good grounds. The pieces are in a large degree dramatic or personative in conception, and this even where they are not obviously so. The dates attached to some of the poems do not apply to the rough sketches given in illustration, which have been recently made, and, as may be surmised, are inserted for personal and local reasons rather than for their intrinsic qualities. Th. September, 1898. Contents page. The temporary, the all one amable 4 hap 7 in vision I roamed 9 at a bridal 11 postponement 13 a confession to a friend in trouble 15 neutral tones 17 she 19 her initials 21 her dilemma 23 revulsion 27 she, to him, I 31, 2. 33, 3. 35, 4. 37 ditty 39 the sergeant's song 43 Valenciennes 45 San Sebastian 51 the stranger's song 59 the burghers 61 Leipzig 67 the peasant's confession 79 the alarm 91 her death and after 103 the dance at the Phoenix 115 the Casterbridge captains 125 a sign seeker 129 my Sicily 133 her immortality 143 the ivy wife 147 a meeting with despair 149 unknowing 153 friends beyond 155 to outer nature 159 thoughts of Fana 163 middle-age enthusiasms 167 in a wood 169 to a lady 173 to an orphan child 175 natures. Questioning 177 The impercipient 181 Aten 187 The slow nature 191 Inner Ulas near Weatherby 195 The fire at Trantis Wetleys 201 Heiress and architect 211 The two men 217 Lines 223 I look into my glass 227 Sketch of tower with sundial The temporary the all change and chancefulness in my flowering youth time, set me sun by sun near to one uncozen, wrought us fellow-like, and despite divergence, friends interlinked us. Cherish him can I while the true one forthcome, come the rich fulfiller of my prevision. Life is roomy yet, and the odds unbounded. So self-communed I thwart my wistful way did a damsel saunter, fair, the while unformed to be all-eclipsing, maiden meet held I, till arise my forefelt wonder of women. Long a visioned hermitage deep desiring, tenements uncouth I was fain to house in. Let such lodging be for a breath while thought I, sooner more seemly. Then, high handiwork will I make my life deed, truth and light outshow, but the ripe time pending, intermissive aim at the thing sufficeth. Thus I. But lo, me. Mistress, friend, place, aims to be bettered straightway, bettered not has fate or my hands achieving, sole the showance those of my onward earth track, never transcended. A Mabel I marked her ruined hues, her custom straitened views, and asked, can there indwell my Mabel? I looked upon her gown, once rose, now earthen brown, the change was like the knell of a Mabel. Her steps' mechanic ways had lost the life of maize, her laugh, once sweet in swell, spoilt a Mabel. I mused, who sings the strain I sang ere warmth did wane? Who thinks its numbers spell his Mabel? Knowing that, though love cease, love's race shows undecrease, all find in daub or dell an Mabel. I felt that I could creep to some house stop, and weep, that time the tyrant fell ruled a Mabel. I said, the while I sighed that love like ours had died, fond things I'll no more tell to a Mabel, but leave her to her fate, and fling across the gate, till the last trump, farewell, O a Mabel. 1865 Sketch of hourglass hap if but some vengeful god would call to me from up the sky, and laugh, thou suffering thing, know that thy sorrow is my ecstasy, that thy love's loss is my hate's profiting. Then would I bear, and clench myself, and die, steeled by the sense of ire unmerited, half eased in that a powerfuller than I had willed and mitted me the tears I shed. But not so. How arrives it joy lies slain, and why unblooms the best hope ever sown? Crass casualty obstructs the sun and rain, and dicing time for gladness casts a moan. These purblind doomsters had as readily strown blisses about my pilgrimage as pain. 1866 In vision I roamed the flashing firmament, so fierce in blazon that the night waxed wan, as though with an awed sense of such ostent, and as I thought my spirit ranged on and on in footless traverse through ghast heights of sky, to the last chambers of the monstrous dome, where stars the brightest here to darkness die, then, any spot on our own earth seemed home. And the sick grief that you were far away grew pleasant thankfulness that you were near, who might have been set on some outstep sphere, less than a want to me, as day by day I lived unaware, uncaring all that lay locked in that universe taciturn and drear. 1866 At a bridal too, when you paced forth to wait maternity, a dream of other offspring held my mind, compounded of us twain as love designed, rare forms, that corporate now will never be. Should I, too, wed as slave to mode's decree, and each thus found apart, of false desire, a stolid line, whom no high aims will fire as had fired ours could ever have mingled we, and, grieved that lives so matched should miscompose, each mourn the double waste, and question dare to the great dame whence incarnation flows. Why those high-purposed children never were, what will she answer? That she does not care if the race all such sovereign types unknows. 1866 Postponement snowbound in woodland, a mournful word, dropped now and then from the bill of a bird, reached me on wind wafts, and thus I heard, wearily waiting, I planned her a nest in a leafless tree, but the passers eyed and twitted me, and said, how reckless a bird is he, cheerily mating. Fear-filled, I stayed me till summertide, in lieu of leaves to throne her bride, but alas, her love for me waned and died, wearily waiting. Ah, had I been like some I see, born to an evergreen nesting tree, none had eyed and twitted me, cheerily mating. 1866 A confession to a friend in trouble. Your troubles shrink not, though I feel them less here, far away, than when I tarry near. I even smile old smiles, with listlessness, yet smiles they are, not ghastly mockeries mere. A thought too strange to house within my brain haunting its outer precincts I discern, that I will not show zeal again to learn your griefs, and sharing them, renew my pain. It goes, like murky bird or buccaneer that shapes its lawless figure on the main, and each new impulse tends to make out flee the unseemly instinct that had logment here, yet, comrade old, can bitterer knowledge be than that, though banned, such instinct was in me. 1866 Neutral tones. We stood by a pond that winter day, and the sun was white, as though chidden of God, and a few leaves lay on the starving sod. They had fallen from an ash, and were grey. Your eyes on me were as eyes that rove over tedious riddles solved years ago, and some words played between us to and fro, on which lost the more by our love. The smile on your mouth was the deadest thing alive enough to have strength to die, and a grin of bitterness swept thereby like an ominous bird-a wing. Since then, keen lessons that love deceives, and rings with wrong, have shaped to me your face, and the God-cursed sun, and a tree, and a pond edged with greyish leaves. 1867 Sketch of church with person outside wall. She at his funeral they bear him to his resting place, in slow procession sweeping by, I follow at a stranger's space, his kindred they, his sweetheart I unchanged my gown of garish dye, though sable sad is their attire, but they stand round with griefless eye, whilst my regret consumes like fire. 187. Sketch of open book with two letters handwritten on left-hand page. Her initials upon a poet's page I wrote of old, two letters of her name. Part seemed she of the effulgent thought whence that high singer's rapture came. When now I turn the leaf the same immortal light illumes the lay, but from the letters of her name the radiance has died away. 1869 Her dilemma. In church, the two were silent in a sunless church, whose mildewed walls, uneven paving stones, and wasted carvings past antique research, and nothing broke the clock's dull monotones. Leaning against a wormy poppy head, so wan and worn that he could scarcely stand, for he was soon to die, he softly said, "Tell me you love me." Holding hard her hand, she would have given a world to breathe yes truly, so much his life seemed handing on her mind, and hence she lied, her heart persuaded throughly 'twas worth her soul to be a moment kind. But the sad need thereof, his nearing death, so mocked humanity that she shamed to prize a world conditioned thus, or care for breath where nature such dilemmas could devise. 1866 Sketch of two people in a church revulsion. Though I waste watches framing words to fetter some spirit to mine own in clasp and kiss, out of the night there looms a sense 'twere better to fail obtaining whom one fails to miss. For winning love we win the risk of losing, and losing love is as one's life were riven. It cuts like contumely and keen ill-using to cede what was superfluously given. Let me then feel no more the fateful thrilling that devastates the love-worn wooer's frame, the hot ado of fevered hopes, the chilling that agonizes disappointed aim. So may I live no junctive law fulfilling, and my heart's table bear no woman's name. 1866 Sketch of person walking long path to building on hill. She, to him I when you shall see me in the toils of time, my lauded beauties carried off from me, my eyes no longer stars as in their prime, my name forgot of maiden fair and free, when in your being heart concedes to mind, and judgment, though you scarce its process know, recalls the excellences I once enshrined, and you are irked that they have withered so, remembering that with me lies not the blame, that sportsman time but rears his brood to kill, knowing me in my soul the very same, one who would die to spare you touch of ill. Will you not grant to old affections claim the hand of friendship down life's sunless hill? 1866 She, to him too perhaps, long hence, when I have passed away, some other's feature, accent, thought like mine, will carry you back to what I used to say, and bring some memory of your love's decline. Then you may pause a while and think, poor jade, and yield a sigh to me, as ample due, not as the tittle of a debt unpaid to one who could resign her all to you, and thus reflecting, you will never see that your thin thought, in two small words conveyed, was no such fleeting phantom thought to me, but the whole life wherein my part was played, and you amid its fitful masquerade a thought, as I in yours but seem to be. 1866 She, to him three I will be faithful to thee, I will. And death shall choose me with a wondering eye that he did not discern and domicile one his by right ever since that last goodbye. I have no care for friends, or kin, or prime of manhood who deal gently with me here, amid the happy people of my time who work their love's fulfillment. I appear numb as a vein that cankers on its point, true to the wind that kissed ere canker came, despised by souls of now, who would disjoint the mind from memory, and make life all aim, my old dexterities of hue quite gone, and nothing left for love to look upon. 1866 She, To him for this love puts all humanity from me, I can but maledict her, pray her dead, for giving love and getting love of thee, feeding a heart that else mine own had fed. How much I love I know not, life not known, save as some unit I would add love by, but this I know, my being is but thine own, fused from its separateness by ecstasy. And thus I grasp thy amplitudes, of her ungrasped, though helped by nigh regarding eyes. Canst thou then hate me as an envier who see unwrecked what I so dearly prize? Believe me, lost one, love is lovelier the more it shapes its moan in selfish wise. 1866 Ditty, E.L.G. Beneath a nap where flown nestlings play, within walls of weathered stone, far away from the files of formal houses, by the bough the firstling browses, lives are sweet, no merchants meet, no man barters, no man sells where she dwells. Upon that fabric fair here is she, seems written everywhere unto me. But to friends and nodding neighbors, fellow wights in lot and labors, who descry the times as I, no such lucid legend tells where she dwells. Should I lapse to what I was ere we met, such cannot be, but because some forget let me feign it, none would notice that where she I know by rote is spread a strange and withering change, like a drying of the wells where she dwells. To feel I might have kissed, loved as true, otherwhere, nor mine have missed my life through. Had I never wandered near her, is a smart severer in the thought that she is naught, even as I, beyond the dells where she dwells. And devotion droops her glance to recall what bond servants of chance we are all. I but found her in that, going on my errant path unknowing, I did not outskirt the spot that no spot on earth excels, where she dwells. 1870 Sketch of man in military dress. The Sergeant's Song, 1803. When lawyers strive to heal a breach, and parsons practice what they preach, then little Boney Heel pounced down, and march his men on London town. Rollicum rorum, tolelo lorum, rollicum rorum, tolelo lay. When justices hold equal scales, and rogues are only found in jails, then little Boney Heel pounced down, and march his men on London town. Rollicum rorum, and see. When rich men find their wealth a curse, and fill therewith the poor man's purse, then little Boney Heel pounced down, and march his men on London town. Rollicum rorum, and see. When husbands with their wives agree, and maids won't wed from modesty, then little Boney Heel pounced down, and march his men on London town. Rollicum rorum, tollorum, rollicum rorum, lay. 1878 Published in the Trumpet Major 1880. Sketch of cannons overlooking a town. Valenciennes, 1793, by Corp. L. Tullidge. See the Trumpet Major in memory of S.C., pensioner. Died 184. We trenched, we trumpeted and drummed, and from our mortars tons of iron hummed athwart the ditch, the month we bombed the town o' Valenciennes. 'Twas in the June '93, the Duke o' York our then commander been, the German Legion, Guards, and we laid siege to Valenciennes. This was the first time in the war that French and English spilled each other's gore, few dreamt how far would roll the roar begun at Valenciennes. 'Twas said that we'd no business there a topper and the French for disagreeing. However, that's not my affair, we were at Valenciennes. Such snooks and slats, since war began never knew raw recruit or veteran, stone deaf thereance went many a man who served at Valenciennes. Into the streets, athwart the sky, 100,000 balls and bombs were fleeing, and harmless townsfolk fell to die each hour at Valenciennes. And, sweatin' with the bombardiers, a shell was slent to shards anized my ears. 'Twas nigh the end of hopes and fears for me at Valenciennes. They bore my wounded frame to camp, and shut my gapin' skull, and washed clean, and ginned wi' a silver clamp thick night at Valenciennes. We've fetched back to quick from dead, but never more on earth while roses red will drum rouse corporal. Doctor said o' me at Valenciennes. 'Twere true. No voice o' friend or foe can reach me now, or any liven being, and little have I power to know since then at Valenciennes. I never hear the summer hums o' bees, and don't know when the cuckoo comes, but night and day I hear the bombs we threw at Valenciennes. As for the Duke o' York in war, there be some volk whose judgment is mean, but this I say, was not far from great at Valenciennes. O wild wet nights, when all seems sad, my wounds come back, as though new wounds I'd had, but yet, at times I'm sort o' glad I fought at Valenciennes. Well, heaven wi' its jasper halls is now the only town I care to be in. Good Lord, if Nick should bomb the walls as we did Valenciennes. 1878–1897. San Sebastian, August 1813, with thoughts of Sergeant M., pensioner, who died 185. Why, Sergeant, stray on the evil way, as though at home there were spectres rife. From first to last 'twas a proud career. And your sunny years with a gracious wife have brought you a daughter dear. I watched her today, a more comely maid, as she danced in her muslin bowed with blue, round a hintock maypole never gayed. I watched her this day, too, as it happens the sergeant said. My daughter is now he again began, of just such an age as one I knew when we of the line and forlorn hope van, on an August morning, a chosen few, stormed San Sebastian. She's a score less 3, so about was she, the maiden I wronged in peninsular days. You may prate of your prowess in lusty times, but as years nor in would you blink your bays, and see too well your crimes. We'd stormed it at night, by the Vlanka light of burning towers, and the mortar's boom, we'd topped the breach, but had failed to stay, for our files were misled by the baffling gloom, and we said we'd storm by day. Sketch of mountains so, out of the trenches, with features set, on that hot, still morning, in measured pace, our column climbed higher yet, past the foul spray, scarp, up the curtain face, and along the parapet. From the battened hornwork the cannoneers hove crashing balls of iron fire, on the shaking gap mount the volunteers in files, and as they mount expire amid curses, groans, and cheers. 5 hours did we storm, 5 hours reform, as death cooled those hot blood pricked on, till our cause was helped by a woe within. They swayed from the summit we'd leapt upon, and madly we entered in. On end for plunder, mid rain and thunder that burst with the lull of our cannonade, we vamped the streets in the stifling air, our hunger unsoothed, our thirst unstayed, and ransacked the buildings there. Down the stony steps of the house fronts white we rolled rich puncheons of Spanish grape, till at length, with the fire of the wine alight, I saw at a doorway a fair fresh shape, a woman, a sylph, or sprite. Afeard she fled, and with heated head I pursued to the chamber she called her own, when might is right no qualms deter, and having her helpless and alone I wreaked my will on her. She raised her beseeching eyes to me, and I heard the words of prayer she sent in her own soft language. Seemingly I copied those eyes for my punishment in begetting the girl you see. So, today I stand with a God-set brand like Cain's, when he wandered from kindred's ken. I served through the war that made Europe free, I wived me in peace year. But, hid from men, I bear that mark on me. And I nightly stray on the evil way as though at home there were spectres rife. I delight me not in my proud career, and tease coals of fire that a gracious wife should have brought me a daughter dear. The Stranger's Song, as sung by Mr. Charles Charrington in the play of The Three Wayfarers. O my trade it is the rarest one, simple shepherds all. My trade is a sight to see, for my customers I tie, and take 'em up on high, and waft 'em to a far country. My tools are but common ones, simple shepherds all, my tools are no sight to see, a little hempen string, and a post whereon to swing, are implements enough for me. Tomorrow is my working day, simple shepherds all. Tomorrow is a working day for me, for the farmer's sheep is slain, and the lad who did it ta'en, and on his soul may God ha' mercy. Printed in the Three Strangers 1883. Sketch of man in Old Street the Burghers, 17. The sun had wheeled from Gray's to Damask Crest, and still I mused on that thing imminent. At length I sought the High Street to the west. The level flare raked pane and pediment and my wrecked face, and shaped my nearing friend like one of those the furnace held unshint. I've news concerning her, he said. Attend. They fly tonight at the late moon's first gleam, watch with thy steel. Two righteous thrusts will end her shameless visions and his passionate dream. I'll watch with thee, to testify thy wrong, to aid, maybe. Law consecrates the scheme. I started, and we paced the flags along till I replied, since it has come to this I'll do it. But alone. I can be strong. 3 hours past curfew, when the Froome's mild hiss reigned sole, undulled by whir of merchandise, from Pumaret out to where the gibbet is, I crossed my pleasaunce hard by Glyd path rise, and stood beneath the wall. 11 strokes went, and to the door they came, contrariwise, and met in clasp so close I had but bent my lifted blade upon them to have let their two souls loose upon the firmament. But something held my arm. A moment yet, as pray time ere you wantons die, I said, and then they saw me. Swift her gaze was set with eye and cry of love illimited upon her heart king. Never upon me had she thrown look of love so thorough sped. At once she flung her faint form shieldingly on his, against the vengeance of my vows, the which o'erruling, her shape shielded he. Blanked by such love, I stood as in a drowse, and the slow moon edged from the upland nigh, my sad thoughts moving thuswise, I may house and I may husband her, yet what am I but licensed tyrant to this bonded pair? Says Charity, do as ye would be done by. Hurling my iron to the bushes there, I bade them stay. And, as if brain and breast were passive, they walked with me to the stair. Inside the house none watched, and on we pressed before a mirror, in whose gleam I read her beauty, his, and mine own mien unblissed, till at her room I turned. Madam, I said, have you the wherewithal for this? Pray speak. Love fills no cupboard. You'll need daily bread. We've nothing, sire, said she, and nothing seek. 'Twere base in me to rob my lord unware, our hands will earn a pittance week by week. And next I saw she'd piled her raiment rare within the guard-robes, and her household purse, her jewels, and least lace of personal wear, and stood in homespun. Now grown wholly hers, I handed her the gold, her jewels all, and him the choicest of her robes diverse. I'll take you to the doorway in the wall, and then adieu I to them. Friends, withdraw. They did so, and she went, beyond recall. And as I paused beneath the arch I saw their moonlit figures, slow, as in surprise, descend the slope, and vanish on the haw. Fool some will say I thought. But who is wise, save God alone, to weigh my reasons why? As thou struck home, came with the boughs night sighs. It was my friend. I have struck well. They fly, but carry wounds that none can cicatrize. Not mortal, said he. Lingering, worse said I. Leipzig, 1813, scene, the master tradesman's parlour at the Old Ship Inn, Casterbridge. Evening. Old Norbert with the flat blue cap, a German said to be, why let your pipe die on your lap, your eyes blink absently. Ah! Well, I had thought till my cheek was wet of my mother, her voice and mien when she used to sing and pirouette, and toose the tambourine to the march that yon street fiddle applies. She told me 'twas the same she'd heard from the trumpets, when the Allies her city overcame. My father was one of the German hussars, my mother of Leipzig, but he, long quartered here, fetched her at close of the wars, and a Wessex lad reared me. And as I grew up, again and again she'd tell, after trilling that air, of her youth, and the battles on Leipzig plain and of all that was suffered there. 'Twas a time of alarms. 3 chiefs at arms combined them to crush one, and by numbers might, for in equal fight he stood the matched of none. Karl Schwarzenberg was of the plot, and Blucher, prompt and prow, and Jean the Crown Prince Bernadotte, Bonaparte was the foe. City and plain had felt his reign from the north to the middle sea, and he'd now sat down in the noble town of the King of Saxony. October's deep dew its wet gossamer threw upon Leipzig's lawns, leaf-strewn, where lately each fair avenue wrought shade for summer noon. To westward 2 dull rivers crept through miles of marsh and slough, where over a streak of whiteness swept, the bridge of Lindenau. Hard by, in the city, the one, care-tossed, gloomed over his shrunken power, and without the walls the hemming host waxed denser every hour. He had speech that night on the morrow's designs with his chiefs by the bivouac fire, while the belt of flames from the enemy's lines flared nigher him yet and nigher. 3 skylights then from the girdling train told, ready. As they rose their flashes seemed his judgment sign for bleeding Europe's woes. 'Twas seen how the French watchfires that night glowed still and steadily, and the 3 rejoiced, for they read in the sight that the one disdained to flee. 500 guns began the affray on next day morn at 9. Such mad and mangling cannon play had never torn human line. Around the town 3 battles beat, contracting like a gin, as nearer marched the million feet of columns closing in. The first battle nighed on the low southern side, the second by the western way, the nearing of the third on the north was heard, the French held all at bay. Against the first band did the Emperor stand, against the second stood Ney, Marmont against the third gave the order word, thus raged it throughout the day. 50,000 sturdy souls on those trampled plains and knolls, who met the dawn hopefully, and were lot their shares in a quarrel not theirs, dropped then in their agony. Oh, the old folks said, ye preachers stern! O so-called Christian time! When will men's swords to plowshares turn? When come the promised prime? The clash of horse and man which that day began, closed not as evening wore, and the morrow's armies, rear and van, still mustered more and more. From the city towers the Confederate powers were eyed in glittering lines, and up from the vast a murmuring passed as from a wood of pines. 'Tis well to cover a feeble skill by numbers, scoffed he, but give me a third of their strength, I'd fill half hell with their soldiery. Sketch of town square, Leipzig. All that day raged the war they waged, and again dumb night held reign, save that ever upspread from the dark deathbed a miles-wide pant of pain. Hard had striven brave Ney, the true Bertrand, Victor, and Augurio, bold Poniatowski, and Lauriston, to stay their overthrow, but, as in the dream of one sick to death there comes a narrowing room that pens him, body and limbs and breath, to wait a hideous doom, so to Napoleon, in the hush that held the town and towers through these dire nights, a creeping crush seemed inborn with the hours. One rode to the rearward, and but one, did fitful chance allow, 'twas where the place and Elster ran, the bridge of Lindenau. The 19th dawned. Down street and Platz the wasted French sank back, stretching long lines across the flats and on the bridgeway track, when there surged on the sky an earthen wave, and stones, and men, as though some rebel churchyard crew updrave their sepulchres from below. To heaven is blown bridge Lindenau, wrecked regiments reel therefrom, and rank and file in masses plough the sullen Elsterstrom. A gulf was Lindenau, and dead were 50s, 100s, 10s, and every current rippled red with marshals' blood and men's. The smart MacDonald swam therein, and barely won the verge, bold Poniatowski plunged him in never to re-emerge. Then stayed the strife. The remnants wound their Rhineward way pell-mell, and thus did Leipzig city sound an empire's passing bell, while in cavalcade, with band and blade, came marshals, princes, kings, and the town was theirs. As simple maid, my mother saw these things. And whenever those notes in the street begin, I recall her, and that far scene, and her acting of how the allies marched in, and her toos of the tambourine. Sketch of person standing outside bay window, looking in the peasant's confession. Sila Mary Chal Grouchy avatit rejoint par el officia q Napoleon Louis avate expedi la valadix hires du soir, tout question you disparu. My set officia enitate point parvenu a sa destination. Ainsi que la Mary Chal en cesta ella firma tout sa vie, il faut en croire, car autrement il n'aurait eu aucune raison pour hésiter. Cet officier avait-il it pris? Avait-il passé à l'ennemi? C'est question on a tuyas ignore. Thias, Histoire de l'Empire. Waterloo. Good father. 'Twas an eve in middle June, and war was waged anew by great Napoleon, who for years had strewn men's bones all Europe through. 3 nights ere this, with columned corps he'd crossed the Sambre at Charleroi, to move on Brussels, where the English host dallied in park and bois. The yestertide we'd heard the gloomy gun growl through the long sunned day from Quatre-Bras and Ligny, till the dun twilight suppressed the fray, albeit therein, as lated tongues bespoke, Brunswick's high heart was drained, and Prussia's line and landwehr, though unbroke, stood cornered and constrained. And at next noontime Grouchy slowly passed with 30,000 men. We hoped thenceforth no army, small or vast, would trouble us again. My heart lay deeply in a vale recessed, and never a soul seemed nigh when, reassured at length, we went to rest, my children, wife, and I. But what was this that broke our humble ease? What noise, above the rain, above the dripping of the poplar trees that smote along the pane? A call of mastery, bidding me arise, compelled me to the door, at which a horseman stood in martial guise, splashed, sweating from every pore. Had I seen Grouchy? Yes. Which track took he? Could I lead thither on? Fulfillment would ensure gold pieces 3, perchance more gifts anon. I bear the Emperor's mandate then, he said, charging the marshal straight to strike between the double host ahead ere they cooperate, engaging Blucher till the Emperor put Lord Wellington to flight, and next the Prussians. This to set afoot is my emprise tonight. I joined him in the mist, but, pausing, sought to estimate his say. Grouchy had made for Wavre, and yet, on thought, I did not lead that way. I mused, if Grouchy thus instructed be, the clash comes sheer on, my farm is stripped. While, as for pieces 3, money the French have none. Grouchy unwound, moreover, the English win, and mine is left to me, they buy, not borrow. Hence did I begin to lead him treacherously. By Joyduin, near to east, as we ondrew, dawn pierced the humid air, and eastward faced I with him, though I knew never marched Grouchy there. Near Ottignies we passed, across the Dyle, Limlet left far aside, and thence direct toward Pavis and Noville through green grain, till he cried, I doubt thy conduct, man, no track is here, I doubt thy gauged word. Thereat he scowled on me, and pranced me near, and pricked me with his sword. Nay, captain, hold. We skirt, not trace the course of Grouchy, said I then, as we go, yonder went he, with his force of 30,000 men. At length noon nighed, when west, from St. John's Mound, a horse artillery boomed, and from St. Lambert's upland, chapel crowned, the Prussian squadrons loomed. Then to the wayless wet grey ground he leapt. My mission fails, he cried, too late for Grouchy now to intercept, for, peasant, you have lied. He turned to pistol me. I sprang, and drew the sabre from his flank, and twixt his nape and shoulder, ere he knew, I struck, and dead he sank. Sketch of landscape I hid him deep in nodding rye and oat, his shroud green stalks and loam, his requiem the corn blade's husky note, and then I hastened home. Two armies writhe in coils of red and blue, and brass and iron clang from Gaumont, past the front of Waterloo, to Paplot and Smohain. The guard imperial wavered on the height. The emperor's face grew glum. I sent, he said, to Grouchy yesternight, and yet he does not come. 'Twas then, good father, that the French espied, streaking the summer land, the men of Blucher. But the emperor cried, Grouchy is now at hand. And meanwhile Vandelot, Vivian, Maitland, Kempt, met D'Erlong, Friant, nay, but Grouchy, missent, blamed, yet blame exempt, Grouchy was far away. By even, slain or struck, Michel the Strong, bold Travers, Knop, Delord, smart Guyot, Rieler, El Herita, Friant, scattered that champaign o'er. Fallen likewise wronged Duhesme, and skilled Lobau did that red sunset see, Colbert, Legros, Blancard. And of the foe Picton and Ponsonby, with Gordon, Canning, Blackman, Omptedar, L'Estrange, Delancey, Pack, Gross, D'Oyley, Stables, Morris, Howard, Hay, von Schwerin, Wattsdorf, Beek, Smith, Phillips, Fuller, Lind, and Battersby, and hosts of ranksmen round. Memorials linger yet to speak to thee of those that bit the ground. The guard's last column yielded, dikes of dead lay between vale and ridge, as, thinned yet closing, faint yet fierce, they sped in packs to Genappe Bridge. Safe was my stock, my capel cow unslain, intact each cock and hen, but Grouchy far at Wover all day had lain, and 30,000 men. O saints, had I but lost my earing corn and saved the cause once prized. O saints, why such false witness had I borne when late I'd sympathized? So now, being old, my children I askance my slowly dwindling store, and crave my might, till, worn with tariance, I care for life no more. To Almighty God henceforth I stand confessed, and Virgin Saint Marie, O Michael, John, and holy ones in rest, entreat the Lord for me. Silhouette of Sodor standing on hill. The Alarm, 1803. See the trumpet major in memory of one of the writer's family who was a volunteer during the war with Napoleon in a ferny byway near the great South Wessex highway. A homestead raised its breakfast smoke aloft. The dew damps still lay steamless, for the sun had made no skyway, and twilight cloaked the croft. 'Twas hard to realize on this snug side the mute horizon that beyond it hostile armaments might steer, save from seeing in the porchway a fair woman weep with eyes on a harnessed volunteer. In haste he'd flown there to his comely wife alone there, while marching south hard by, to still her fears, for she soon would be a mother, and few messengers were known there in these campaigning years. 'Twas time to be goodbying, since the assembly hour was nighing in Royal George's town at 6 that morn, and betwixt its wharves and this retreat were 10 good miles of highing ere ring of bugle horn. I've laid in food, dear, and broached the spiced and brewed, dear, and if our July hope should antedit, let the charwench mount and gallop by the hall to path and wood, dear, and fetch assistance straight. As for Bonaparte, forget him, he's not like to land. But let him, those strike with aim who strike for wives and sons. And the war boats built to float him, 'twere but wanted to upset him aslat from Nelson's guns. But, to assure thee, and of creeping fears to cure thee, if he should be rumoured anchoring in the road, drive with the nurse to Kingsp, and let nothing thence allure thee till we've him safe bestowed. Now, to turn to marching matters, I've my knapsack, firelock, spatters, crossbelts, priming horn, stock, bayonet, black ball, clay, pouch, magazine, flints, flint box that at every quick step clatters. My heart, dear, that must stay. With breathings broken farewell was kissed unspoken, and they parted there as morning stroked the panes, and the volunteer went on, and turned, and twirled his glove for token, and took the coastward lanes. When above Heath hills he found him, he saw, on gazing round him, the Barrow beacon burning low, as if, perhaps, uplighted ever since he'd homeward bound him, and it meant, expect the foe. Sketch of person riding with wide landscape behind, leaving the byway, and following swift the highway, car and chariot met he, faring fast inland, he's anchored, soldier, shouted some, God save thee, marching thy way, THLT front him on the strand. He slowed, he stopped, he paltered a while with self, and faltered, why courting misadventure shoreward roam? To Molly, surely. Seek the woods with her till times have altered, charity favours home. Else, my denying he would come she'll read as lying, think the Barrow beacon must have met my eyes, that my words were not unwareness, but deceit of her, while trying my life to jeopardize. At home is stocked provision, and tonight, without suspicion, we might bear it with us to a covert near, such sin, to save a childing wife, would earn it Christ's remission, though none forgive it here. While thus he, thinking, a little bird, quick drinking among the crowfoot tufts the river bore, was tangled in their stringy arms, and fluttered, well nigh sinking, near him, upon the moor. He stepped in, reached, and seized it, and, preening, had released it, but that a thought of Holy Writ occurred, and signs divine ere battle, till it seemed him heaven had pleased it as guide to send the bird. O Lord, direct me. Doth duty now expect me to march a coast, or guard my weak ones near? Give this bird a flight according, that I thence know to elect me the southward or the rear. He loosed his clasp, when, rising, the bird, as if surmising, bore due to southward, crossing by the Froom, and dern over great field and fort, the soldier clear advising, prompted he wist by whom. Then on he panted by grim Mydon, and slanted up the steep ridgeway, hearkening betwixt whiles, till, nearing coast and harbour, he beheld the shoreline planted with foot and horse for miles. Mistrusting not the omen, he gained the beach, where yeomen, militia, fencibles, and pikesmen bold, with regulars in thousands, were enmasked to meet the foeman, whose fleet had not yet shoaled. Captain and colonel, seer generals, ensigns vernal, were there, of neighbour natives, Michel, Smith, Meggs, Bingham, Gambier, Cunningham, roused by the hued nocturnal swoop on their land and kith. But Bonaparte still tarried, his project had miscarried, at the last hour, equipped for victory, the fleet had paused, his subtle combinations had been parried by British strategy. Homeward returning anon, no beacons burning, no alarms, the volunteer, in modest bliss, Te Deum sang with wife and friends, we praise thee, Lord, discerning that thou hast helped in this. Her death and after 'twas a deathbed summons, and forth I went by the way of the western wall, so drear on that winter night, and sought a gate, the home, by fate, of one I had long held dear. And there, as I paused by her tenement, and the trees shed on me their rime and hoar, I thought of the man who had left her lone, him who made her his own when I loved her, long before. The rooms within had the piteous shine that home things wear when there's aught amiss, from the stairway floated the rise and fall of an infant's call, whose birth had brought her to this. Her life was the price she would pay for that wine, for a child by the man she did not love. But let that rest forever, I said, and bent my tread to the chamber up above. She took my hand in her thin white own, and smiled her thanks, though nigh too weak, and made them a sign to leave us there, then faltered, ere she could bring herself to speak. 'Twas to see you before I go, he'll condone such a natural thing now, my time's not much, when death is so near it hustles hence all passioned sense between woman and man as such. My husband is absent. As heretofore the city detains him. But, in truth, he has not been kind. I will speak no blame, but, the child is lame, oh, I pray she may reach his ruth. Forgive past days, I can say no more, maybe if we'd wedded you'd now repin. But I treated you ill. I was punished. Farewell. Truth shall I tell? Would the child were yours and mine. As a wife I was true. But, such my unease that, could I insert a deed back in time, I'd make her yours, to secure your care, and the scandal bear, and the penalty for the crime. When I had left, and the swinging trees rang above me, as lauding her candid say, another was I. Her words were enough, came smooth, came rough, I felt I could live my day. Next night she died, and her obsequies in the field of tombs, by the Via renowned, had her husband's heed. His tendance spent, I often went and pondered by her mound. All that year and the next year wild, and I still went thitherward in the gloam, but the town forgot her and her nook, and her husband took another love to his home. And the rumour flew that the lame lone child whom she wished for its safety, child of mine, was treated ill when offspring came of the new-made dame, and marked a more vigorous line. Sketch of cemetery. A smarter grief within me wrought than even at loss of her so dear, dead the being whose soul my soul suffused, her child ill-used, I helpless to interfere. One eve as I stood at my spot of thought in the white-stoned garth, brooding thus her wrong, her husband neared, and to shun his view by her hallowed mew I went from the tombs among to the cirque of the gladiators which faced that haggard mark of imperial Rome, whose pagan echoes mock the chime of our Christian time. It was void, and I inward clomb. Scarce night the sun's gold touch displaced from the vast rotund and the neighbouring dead when her husband followed, bowed, half past, with lip upcast, then, halting, sullenly said, "It is noised that you visit my first wife's tomb." Now, I gave her an honoured name to bear while living, when dead. So I've claim to ask by what right you task my patience by vigiling there. There's decency even in death, I assume. Preserve it, sir, and keep away, for the mother of my firstborn you show mind undue. Sir, I've nothing more to say. A desperate stroke discerned I then, God pardon, or pardon not, the lie. She had sighed that she wished, lest the child should pine of slights, 'twere mine, so I said, but the father I that you thought it yours is the way of men, but I won her troth long ere your day, you learned how, in dying, she summoned me. 'Twas in fealty. Sir, I've nothing more to say, save that, if you'll hand me my little maid, I'll take her, and rear her, and spare you toil. Think it more than a friendly act none can, I'm a lonely man, while you've a large pot to boil. If not, and you'll put it to ball or blade, tonight, tomorrow night, anywhen, I'll meet you here. But think of it, and in season fit let me hear from you again. Well, I went away, hoping, but naught I heard of my stroke for the child, till there greeted me a little voice that one day came to my window frame and babbled innocently, "My father who's not my own, sends word I'm to stay here, sir, where I belong." Next a writing came, "Since the child was the fruit of your lawless suit, pray take her, to right a wrong." And I did. And I gave the child my love, and the child loved me, and estranged us none. But compunctions loomed, for I'd harmed the dead by what I'd said for the good of the living one. Yet though, God wot, I am sinner enough, and unworthy the woman who drew me so, perhaps this wrong for her darling's good she forgives, or would, if only she could know. Sketch of tree-lined path. Sketch of a decorative stave of music. The dance at the Phoenix. To Jenny came a gentle youth from inland Lease's lone, his love was fresh as apple blueth by parrot, yo, or tone. And duly he entreated her to be his tender minister, and call him I her own. Fair Jenny's life had hardly been a life of modesty, at Casterbridge experience keen of many loves had she from scarcely 16 years above, among them sundry troopers of the king's own cavalry. but each with charger, sword, and gun, had bluffed the Bisky wave, and Jenny prized her gentle one for all the love he gave. She vowed to be, if they were wed, his honest wife in heart and head from bridal hour to grave. Wedded they were. Her husband's trust in Jenny knew no bound, and Jenny kept her pure and just, till even malice found no sin or sign of ill to be in one who walked so decently the duteous helpmates round. 2 sons were born, and bloomed to men, and roamed, and were as not. Alone was Jenny left again as ere her mind had sought a solace in domestic joys, and ere the vanished pair of boys were sent to sun her cot. She numbered near on 60 years, and passed as elderly, when, in the street, with flush of fears, one day discovered she, from shine of swords and thump of drum, her early loves from war had come, the king's own cavalry. She turned aside, and bowed her head anigh St. Peter's door. Alas for chastened thoughts, she said, I'm faded now, and hoar, and yet those notes, they thrill me through, and those gay forms move me anew as in the years of yore. 'Twas Christmas, and the Phoenix Inn was lit with tapers tall, for 30 of the trooper men had vowed to give a ball as theirs had done. 'Twas handed down, when lying in the self-same town ere Bonaparte's fall. That night the throbbing soldier's joy, the measured tread and sway of fancy lad and maiden coy reached Jenny as she lay beside her spouse, till spring-teed blood seemed scouring through her like a flood that whisked the years away. She rose, and rayed, and decked her head where the bleached hairs ran thin, upon her cap 2 bows of red she fixed with hasty pin. Unheard descending to the street, she trod the flags with tune-led feet, and stood before the inn. Save for the dancers, not a sound disturbed the icy air, no watchman on his midnight round or traveller was there, but over All Saints, high and bright, pulsed to the music Sirius white, the Wain by Bull Stake Square. She knocked, but found her further stride checked by a sergeant tall. Gay granny, whence come you? He cried, this is a private ball. No one has more right here than me. Ere you were born, man, answered she, I knew the regiment all. Take not the lady's visit ill. Up spoke the steward free, we lack sufficient partners still. So, prithee let her be. They seized and whirled her mid the maze, and Jenny felt as in the days of her immodesty. Hour chased each hour, and night advanced, she sped as shod with wings, each time and every time she danced, reels, jigs, passettes, and flings. They cheered her as she soared and swooped. She'd learnt ere art in dancing drooped from hops to slothful swings. The favourite quick step speed the plough, cross hands, cast off, and wheel. The triumph sylph, the Rodau famed Major Malley's reel, the Duke of York's the fairy dance, the Bridge of Lodi, brought from France, she beat out, toe and heel. The fall of Paris clanged its close, and Peter's chime told 4, when Jenny, bosom beating, rose to seek her silent door. They tiptoed in escorting her, lest stroke of heel or clink of spur should break her goodman's snore. The fire that late had burnt fell slack when lone at last stood she, her 59 years came back. She sank upon her knee beside the durn, and like a dart something arrowed through her heart in shoots of agony. Their footsteps died as she leant there, lit by the morning star hanging above the moorland, where the aged elm rows are, and, as o'ernight, from Pummery Ridge to Mameberry Ring and Standfast Bridge no life stirred, near or far. Though in a mischief-worked amain, she reached her husband's side, where, toil-weary, as he had lain beneath the patchwork pied when yestereve she'd forthward crept, and as unwitting, still he slept who did in her confide. A tear sprang as she turned and viewed his features free from guile. She kissed him long, as when, just wooed, she chose his domicile. She felt she could have given her life to be the single-hearted wife that she had been erstwhile. Time wore to 6. Her husband rose and struck the steel and stone. He glanced at Jenny, whose repose seemed deeper than his own. With dumb dismay, on closer sight, he gathered sense that in the night, or morn, her soul had flown. When told that some too mighty strain for one so many-yeared had burst her bosom's master vein, his doubts remained unstirred. His Jenny had not left his side betwixt the eve and morning tide. The kings said not a word. Well, times are not as times were then, nor fair ones half so free, and truly they were martial men, the king's own cavalry. And when they went from Casterbridge and vanished over Mellstock Ridge, 'twas saddest morn to see. 2 lines of military men on horses sketch of wooden panel the Casterbridge captains, Khyber Pass, 1842, a tradition of JBL, TGB, and JL. 3 captains went to Indian wars, and only one returned, their mate of yore, he singly wore the laurels all had earned. At home he sought the ancient isle wherein, untrumped of fame, the 3 had sat in pupilage, and each had carved his name. The names, rough-hewn, of equal size, stood on the panel still, unequal since 'twas theirs to aim, mine was it to fulfill. Who saves his life shall lose it, friends. Outspake the preacher then, unweeting he his listener, who looked at the names again. That he had come and they'd been stayed, 'twas but the chance of war, another chance, and they'd sat here, and he had lain afar. Yet saw he something in the lives of those who'd ceased to live that sphered them with a majesty which living failed to give. Transcendent triumph in return no longer lit his brain, transcendence rayed the distant urn where slept the fallen twain. Sketch of comet a sign seeker I mark the months in liveries dank and dry, the noontides many-shaped and hued, I see the nightfall shades subtrude, and hear the monotonous hours clang negligently by. I view the evening bonfires of the sun on hills where morning rains have hissed, the eyeless countenance of the mist pallidly rising when the summer droughts are done. I have seen the lightning blade, the leaping star, the cauldrons of the sea in storm, have felt the earthquake's lifting arm, and trodden where abysmal fires and snow cones are. I learn to prophesy the hid eclipse, the coming of eccentric orbs, to meet the dust the sky absorbs, to weigh the sun, and fix the hour each planet dips. I witness fellow earthmen surge and strive, assemblies meet, and throb, and part, death's soothing finger, sorrow's smart, all the vast various wiles that mean a world alive. But that I fain would what of shuns my sense, those sights of which old prophets tell, those signs the general word so well vouchsafed to their unheed, denied my long suspense. In graveyard green, behind his monument to glimpse a phantom parent, friend, wearing his smile, and not the end. Outbreathing softly, that were blessed enlightenment, or, if a dead love's lips, whom dreams reveal when midnight imps of King Decay delve sly to solve me back to clay, should leave some print to prove her spirit kisses real, or, when earth's frail lie bleeding of her strong, if some recorder, as in writ, near to the weary scene should flit and drop one plume as pledge that heaven inscrolls the wrong. There are who, rapt to heights of tranced trust, these tokens claim to feel and see, read radiant hints of times to be, of heart to heart returning after dust to dust. Such scope is granted not to lives like mine. I have lain in dead men's beds, have walked the tombs of those with whom I'd talked, called many a gone and goodly one to shape a sign, and panted for response. But none replies, no warnings loom, nor whisperings to open out my limitings, and nescience mutely muses, when a man falls he lies. Sketch of person on horseback in wide landscape my Sicily, 17, alive. And I leapt in my wonder, was faint of my joyance, and grasses and groves shone in garments of glory to me. She lives, in a plenteous well-being, today as aforehand, the dead bore the name, though a rare one, the name that bore she. She lived. I, afar in the city of frenzy-led factions, had squandered green years and maturer in bowing the knee to Baals elusive and specious, till chance had there voiced me that one I loved vainly in nonage had ceased her to be. The passion the planets had scowled on, and change had let dwindle, her death rumour smartly relifted to full apogee. I mounted a steed in the dawning with acheful remembrance, and made for the ancient west highway to far X on bar Y. Passing heaths, and the house of long sieging, I neared the thin steeple that tops the fair fane of Paul's olden episcopal see, and, changing anew my own bearer, I traversed the downland whereon the bleak hill graves of chieftains bulge barren of tree, and still sadly onward I followed that highway the Ison, which trails its pale riband down Wessex o'er Lindsay and Lee. Along through the stour-bordered forum, where legions had wayfared, and where the slow river upglasses its green canopy, and by Weatherbury Castle, and thence from through Casterbridge held I still on, to entomb her my vision saw stretched pallidly. No highwayman's trot blew the night wind to me so life-weary, but only the creak of the gibbets or waggoner's G. Triple rampart Maidon gloomed greyly above me from southward, and north the hill fortress of Eger, and square Pummery. The nine-pillared cromlech, the bride streams, the axe, and the otter I passed, to the gate of the city where exe scents the sea, till, spent, in the gravy acre pausing, I learned 'twas not my love to whom Mother Church had just murmured a last lullaby. Then, where dwells the canon's kinswoman, my friend of aforetime? 'Twas hard to repress my heart-heavings and new ecstasy. She wedded. Ah! Wedded beneath her, she keeps the stage hostel 10 miles hence, beside the great highway, the famed Lions 3. Her spouse was her lackey, no option twixt wedlock and worse things, a lapse over sad for a lady of her pedigree. I shuddered, said nothing, and wandered to shades of green laurel. Too ghastly had grown those first tidings so brightsome of blee. For, on my ride hither, I'd halted a while at the Lions, and her whose name had once opened my heart as a key, I'd looked on, unknowing, and witnessed her jests with the tapsters, her liquefied face, her thick accents in naming her fee. O God, why this seeming derision? I cried in my anguish, O once loved, O fair unforgotten, that thing, meant it thee? Inurned and at peace, lost but sainted, were grief I could compass, depraved, tease for Christ's poor dependent a cruel decree. I backed on the highway, but passed not the hostel. Within there too mocking to love's re-expression was time's repartee. Up-tracking where legions had wayfared, by cromlechs unstrid, and linchays, and sepultured chieftains, in self-colloquy, a feeling stirred in me and strengthened that she was not my love, but she of the Garth, who lay wrapped in her long reverie. And thence till today I persuade me that this was the true one, that death stole intact her young dearness and innocency. Frail-witted, illuded they call me, I may be. 'Tis better to dream than to own the debasement of sweet Cicely. Moreover I rate it unseemly to hold that kind heaven could work such device, to her ruin and my misery. So, lest I disturb my choice vision, I shun the west highway, even now, when the naps ring with rhythms from blackbird and bee, and feel that with slumber half-conscious she rests in the church hay, her spirit unsoiled as in youth time when lovers were we. Sketch of top of church tower, sketch of fields with trees, her immortality upon a noon I pilgrimed through a pasture, mile by mile, unto the place where I last saw my dead love's living smile. And sorrowing I lay me down upon the heated sod, it seemed as if my body pressed the very ground she trod. I lay, and thought, and in a trance she came and stood me by, the same, even to the marvelous ray that used to light her eye. You draw me, and I come to you, my faithful one, she said, in voice that had the moving tone it bore ere breath had fled. She said, 'Tis 7 years since I died, few now remember me, my husband clasps another bride, my children's love has she. My brethren, sisters, and my friends care not to meet my sprite, who prized me most I did not know till I passed down from sight. I said, my days are lonely here, I need thy smile alway, I'll use this night my ball or blade, and join thee ere the day. A tremor stirred her tender lips, which parted to dissuade, that cannot be, O friend, she cried, think, I am but a shade. A shade, but in its mindful ones has immortality, by living, me you keep alive, by dying you slay me. In you resides my single power of sweet continuance here, on your fidelity I count through many a coming year. I started through me at her plight, so suddenly confessed, dismissing late distaste for life, I craved its bleak unrest. I will not die, my one of all, to lengthen out thy days I'll guard me from minutest harms that may invest my ways. She smiled and went. Since then she comes oft when her birth moon climbs, or at the season's ingresses or anniversary times, but grows my grief. When I surcease, through whom alone lives she, ceases my love, her words, her ways, never again to be. The ivy wife I longed to love a full-bowed beech and be as high as he, I stretched an arm within his reach, and signalled unity. But with his drip he forced a breach, and tried to poison me. I gave the grasp of partnership to one of other race, a plain, he barked him strip by strip from upper bough to base, and me therewith, forgone my grip, my arms could not endless. In new affection next I strove to Colin Ash I saw, and he in trust received my love, till with my soft green claw I cramped and bound him as I wove. Such was my love, ha ha. By this I gained his strength and height without his rivalry. But in my triumph I lost sight of after haps. Soon he, being bark-bound, flagged, snapped, fell outright, and in his fall felled me. A meeting with despair as evening shaped I found me on a moor which sight could scarce sustain. The black lean land, of featureless contour, was like a tract in pain. This scene, like my own life I said, is one where many glooms abide, toned by its fortune to a deadly dun, lightless on every side. I glanced aloft and halted, pleasure caught to see the contrast there, the ray-lit clouds gleamed glory, and I thought, there's solace everywhere. Then bitter self-reproaches as I stood I dealt me silently as one perverse, misrepresenting good in graceless mutiny. Against the horizon's dim discerned wheel a form rose, strange of mould, that he was hideous, hopeless, I could feel rather than could behold. 'Tis a dead spot, where even the light lies spent to darkness, croaked the thing. Not if you look aloft, said I, intent on my new reasoning. Yet, but await a while, he cried. Ho ho, look now aloft and see. I looked. There, too, sat night, heaven's radiant show had gone. Then chuckled he. Unknowing when, soul in soul reflected, we breathed an ethered air, when we neglected all things elsewhere, and left the friendly friendless to keep our love aglow, we deemed it endless, we did not know. When, by mad passion goaded, we planned to hie away, but, unforeboded, the storm shafts grey so heavily down-pattered that none could forthward go, our lives seemed shattered, we did not know. When I found you, helpless lying, and you waved my deep misprise, and swore me, dying, in phantom guise to wing to me when grieving, and touch away my woe, we kissed, believing, we did not know. But though, your powers outreckoning, you hold you dead and dumb, or scorn my beckoning, and will not come, and I say, 'twere a mood ungainly to store her memory, so I say it vainly, I feel and know. Friends beyond William Dewey, Tranter Reuben, Farmer Ledlow late at plough, Robert's kin, and John's, and Ned's, and the Squire, and Lady Susan, lie in Mellstock churchyard now. Gone I call them, gone for good, that group of local hearts and heads, yet at mothy curfew tide, and at midnight when the noon heat breathes it back from walls and leads, they've a way of whispering to me, fellow wight who yet abide, in the muted, measured note of a ripple under archways, or a lone cave stillicide, we have triumphed, this achievement turns the bane to antidote, unsuccesses to success, many thought-worn eves and morrows to a morrow free of thought. No more need we corn and clothing, feel of old terrestrial stress, chill detraction stirs no sigh, fear of death has even bygone us, death gave all that we possess. WD. Ye mid burn the wold base vile that I set such value by. Squire. You may hold the manse in fee, you may wed my spouse, my children's memory of me may decry. Lady. You may have my rich brocades, my laces, take each household key, ransack coffer, desk, bureau, quiz the few poor treasures hid there, con the letters kept by me. Far. Ye mid sell my favourite heifer, ye mid let the charlock grow, foul the grintons, give up thrift. Wife. If ye break my best blue china, children, I shan't care or hoe. All. We've no wish to hear the tidings, how the people's fortunes shift, what your daily doings are, who are wedded, born, divided, if your lives beat slow or swift. Curious not the least are we if our intents you make or mar, if you choir to our old tune, if the city stage still passes, if the weirs still roar afar. Thus, with very God's composure, freed those crosses late and soon which, in life, the Trin allow, why, none witteth, and ignoring all that haps beneath the moon, William Dewey, Tranter Reuben, Farmer Ledlow late at plough, Robert's kin, and John's, and Ned's, and the Squire, and Lady Susan, murmur mildly to me now. Sketch of vase with dead flowers to outer nature show thee as I thought thee when I early sought thee, omen scouting, all undoubting love alone had wrought thee for my pleasure, planned thee as a measure for expounding and resounding glad things that men treasure. Oh, for but a moment of that old endowment, light to gaily see thy daily irised embowment. But such re-adorning time forbids with scorning, makes me see things cease to be things they were in my morning. Faddest thou, glow forsaken, darkness overtaken. Thy first sweetness, radiance, meetness, none shall reawaken. Why not sempiternal thou and I? Our vernal brightness keeping, time out leaping, past the hodional. Thoughts of Fana at news of her death, not a line of her writing have I, not a thread of her hair, no mark of her late time as dame in her dwelling, whereby I may picture her there. And in vain do I urge my unsight to conceive my lost prize at her close, whom I knew when her dreams were upbrimming with light, and with laughter her eyes. What scenes spread around her last days, sad, shining, or dim? Did her gifts and compassions enray and enarch her sweet ways with an aureate nim? Or did life light decline from her years, and mischances control her full-day star, unease, or regret, or forebodings, or fears disennoble her soul? Thus I do but the phantom retain of the maiden of yore as my relic, yet haply the best of her, find in my brain it may be the more that no line of her writing have I, nor a thread of her hair, no mark of her late time as dame in her dwelling, whereby I may picture her there. March, 1890. Sketch of woman cover in sheet lying on couch middle-age enthusiasms to M.H. We passed where flag and flower signaled a jocund throng, we said, go to, the hour is apt. And joined the song, and, kindling, laughed at life and care, although we knew no laugh lay there. We walked where shy birds stood watching us, wonder dumb, their friendship met our mood, we cried, "We'll often come, we'll come morn, noon, eve, ever I when." We doubted we should come again. We joyed to see strange sheens leap from quaint leaves in shade, a secret light of greens they'd for their pleasure made. We said, "We'll set such sorts as these." We knew with night the wish would cease. So sweet the place, we said, its tacit tales so dear, our thoughts, when breath has sped, will meet and mingle here. Words, mused we. Past the mortal door, our thoughts will reach this nook no more. In a wood see the woodlander's pale beech and pine tree blue, set in one clay, bough to bough cannot you bide out your day. When the rains skim and skip, why mar sweet comradeship, blighting with poison drip neighborly spray? Heart halt and spirit lame, city oppressed, unto this wood I came as to a nest, dreaming that sylvan peace offered the harrowed ease, nature a soft release from men's unrest. But, having entered in, great growths and small show them to men akin, combatants all. Sycamore shoulders oak, binds the slim sapling yoke, ivy-spun halters choke elms stout and tall. Touches from ash, OWYCH, sting you like scorn. You, too, brave hollies, twitch sidelong from thorn. Even the rank poplar's burially arrivals ere, cankering in black despair if overborne. Since, then, no grace I find taught me of trees, turn I back to my kind, worthy as these. There at least smiles abound, their discourse trills around, there, now and then, are found life loyalties. 1887, 1896. To a lady offended by a book of the writer's now that my page up closes, doomed, maybe, never to press thy cozy cushions more, or wake thy ready yeas as heretofore, or stir thy gentle vows of faith in me, knowing thy natural receptivity, I figure that, as flambeaux banish eve, my sombre image, warped by insidious heave of those less forthright, must lose place in thee. So be it. I have borne such. Let thy dreams of me and mine diminish day by day, and yield their space to shine of smugger things, till I shape to thee but in fitful gleams, and then in far and feeble visitings, and then surcease. Truth will be truth alway. To an orphan child a whimsy child, thou art but half thy darling mother's, hers couldst thou wholly be, my light in thee would outglow all in others, she would relive to me. But niggard nature's trick of birth bars, lest she overjoy, renewal of the loved on earth save with alloy. The dame has no regard, alas, my maiden, for love and loss like mine, no sympathy with mind sight memory laden, only with fickle ain. To her mechanic artistry my dreams are all unknown, and why I wish that thou couldst be but one's alone. Sketch of broken key. Nature's questioning when I look forth at dawning, pool, field, flock, and lonely tree, all seem to gaze at me like chastened children sitting silent in a school, their faces dulled, constrained, and worn, as though the master's ways through the long teaching days their first terrestrial zest had chilled and overborne. and on them stirs, in lipping smear, as if once clear in call, but now scarce breathed at all. We wonder, ever wonder, why we find us here. Has some vast imbecility, mighty to build and blend, but impotent to tend, framed us in jest, and left us now to hazardry? Or come we of an automaton unconscious of our pains? Or are we live remains of Godhead dying downwards, brain and eye now gone? Or is it that some high plan betides, as yet not understood, of evil stormed by good, with the forlorn hope over which achievement strides? Thus things around. No answer I. Meanwhile the winds, and rains, and earth's old glooms and pains are still the same, and gladdest life death neighbours nigh. The impercipient, at a cathedral service, that from this bright believing band an outcast I should be, that faiths by which my comrades stand seem fantasies to me, and mirage mists their shining land, is a drear destiny. Why thus my soul should be consigned to infelicity, why always I must feel as blind to sights my brethren see, why joys they've found I cannot find, abides a mystery. Since heart of mine knows not that ease which they know, since it be that he who breathes all's well to these breathes no all's well to me, my lack might move their sympathies and Christian charity. I am like a gazer who should mark an inland company standing up fingered, with, hark, hark, the glorious distant sea, and feel, alas, 'tis but yon dark and wind-swept pine to me. Yet I would bear my shortcomings with meet tranquillity, but for the charge that blessed things I'd liefer have unb. Oh, doth a bird deprived of wings go earthbound wilfully? Asterisk 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 enough. As yet disquiet clings about us. Rest shall we? Sketch of inside of church at an inn when we as strangers sought their catering care, veiled smiles bespoke their thought of what we were. They warmed as they opined us more than friends, that we had all resigned for love's dear ends. And that swift sympathy with living love which quicks the world, maybe the spheres above, made them our ministers, moved them to say, ah, God, that bliss like theirs would flush our day. And we were left alone as love's own pair, yet never the love light shone between us there. But that which chilled the breath of afternoon, and palsied unto death the pain fly's tune. The kiss their zeal foretold, and now deemed come, came not, within his hold love lingered numb. Why cast he on our port a bloom not ours? Why shaped us for his sport in after hours? As we seemed we were not that day afar, and now we seem not what we aching are. O severing sea and land, O laws of men, ere death, once let us stand as we stood then. The slow nature, an incident of Froom Valley, thy husband, poor, poor heart, is dead, dead, out by Morford Rise, a bull escaped the Barton shed, gored him, and there he lies. Ha, ha, go away. 'Tis a tale, methink, thou joker Kit, laughed she. I've known thee many a year, Kit Twink, and ever hast thou fooled me. But, Mistress Damon, I can swear thy goodman John is dead. And soon thlt hear their feet who bear his body to his bed. So unwontedly sad was the merry man's face, that face which had long deceived, that she gazed, and then could trace the truth there, and she believed. She laid a hand on the dresser ledge, and scanned far Egdon side, and stood, and you heard the wind-swept sedge and the rippling Froom, till she cried, "O my chambers untided, unmade my bed though the day has begun to wear." What a slovenly hussif, it will be said, when they all go up my stair. She disappeared, and the joker stood depressed by his neighbour's doom, and amazed that a wife struck to widowhood thought first of her unkempt room. But a fortnight thence she could take no food, and she pined in a slow decay, while Kit soon lost his mournful mood and laughed in his ancient way. 1894. In a eulass near Wetherby the years have gathered greyly since I danced upon this leas with one who kindled gaily love's fitful ecstasies. But despite the term as teacher, I remain what I was then in each essential feature of the fantasies of men. Yet I note the little chisel of never-napping time, defacing ghast and grizzle the blazon of my prime. When at night he thinks me sleeping, I feel him boring sly within my bones, and heaping quaintest pains for by and by. Still, I'd go the world with beauty, I would laugh with her and sing, I would shun divinest duty to resume her worshipping. But she'd scorn my brave endeavour, she would not balm the breeze by murmuring thine forever, as she did upon this leas. 1890. Sketch of pair of glasses on sketch of landscape. Additions: the fire at Tranter Swetley's they had long met o' Sundays, her true love and she, and at junketings, maypoles, and flings, but she bode wi' a thirtover uncle, and he swore by noon and by night that her goodman should be neighbour Swetley, a gaffer oft weak at the knee from taking o' sommat more cheerful than tea, who tranted, and moved people's things. She cried, "Oh pray pity me." Naught would he hear, then with wild rainy eyes she obeyed. She chid when her love was for clinking off wi' her. The parson was told, as the season drew near, to throw over pulpit the names of the pair as fitting one flesh to be made. The wedding day dawned and the morning drew on. The couple stood bridegroom and bride. The evening was past, and when midnight had gone the folks horned out, "God save the King," and anon the two home along gloomily hight. The lover Tim Tankins mourned heart-sick and drear to be thus of his darling deprived. He roamed in the dark athart field, mound, and mere, and, almost without knowing it, found himself near the house of the tranter, and now of his dear, where the lantern lights showed arrived. The bride sought her chamber so calm and so pale that a northern had thought her resigned, but to eyes that had seen her in tide times of weal, like the white cloud o' smoke, the red battlefield's veil, that look spark of havoc behind. The bridegroom yet lated a beaker to drain, then reeled to the linhay for more, when the candle snov kindled some chaff from his grain, flames spread, and red vlankers, we might and we main, and round beams, thatch, and chimelet unroar. Young Tim away yond, rafted up by the light, through brimble and underwood tears, till he comes to the orchard, when crouping the rarite in the looth of a codlin tree, bivering wi' fright, we ony her night rail to screen her from sight, his lonesome young Barbary appears. Her cold little figure half naked he views played about by the frolicsome breeze, her light tripping totties, her 10 little twos, all bare and besprinkled wi' fall's chilly dews, while her great gaulied eyes, through her hair hanging loose, sheened as stars through a tardle o' trees. She idn, and, as when a weir hatch is drawn, her tears, penned by terror afore, with a rushing of sobs in a shower were strawn, till her power to pour seemed wasted and gone from the heft o' misfortune she bore. O Tim, my own Tim, I must call ye, I will. All the world turned round on me so. Can you help her who loved ye, though acting so ill? Can you pity her misery, feel for her still? When worse than her body so quivering and chill is her heart in its winter o' woe. I think I mid almost ha' borne it, she said, had my griefs one by one come to hand, but oh, to be slave to thik husband for bread, and then, upon top o' that, driven to wed, and then, upon top o' that, burnt out o' bed, is more than my nature can stand. Tim's soul like a lion ithin en outsprung. Tim had a great soul when his feelings were wrung. Feel for ye, dear Barbary, he cried, and his warm working jacket about her he flung, made a back, horsed her up, till behind him she clung like a chiel on a gypsy, her figure uphung by the sleeves that around her he tied. Over piggeries, and mixens, and apples, and hay, they lumpered straight into the night, and finding bylong where a halter path lay, at dawn reached Tim's house, only seen on their way by a neighbour or two who were up with the day, but they gathered no clue to the sight. Then tender Tim Tankins he searched here and there for some garment to clothe her fair skin, but though he had breeches and waistcoats to spare, he had nothing quite seemly for Barbary to wear, who, half shrammed to death, stood and cried on a chair at the caddle she found herself in. There was one thing to do, and that one thing he did. He lent her some clouts of his own, and she took perforce, and while in she slid, Tim turned to the window, as modesty bid, thinking, oh that the picture my duty keeps hid to the sight o' my eyes mid be shown. In the toilet he stowed her, there did she lay, shortening sleeves, legs, and tails to her limbs, but most o' the time in a mortal bad way, well knowing that there'd be the divil to pay if 'twere found that, instead o' the elements' prey, she was living in lodgings at Tim's. Where's the tranter? Said men and boys, where can er be? Where's the tranter? Said Barbary alone. Where on eth is the tranter? Said everybody. Why, they sifted the dust of his perished roof tree, and all they could find was a bone. Then the uncle cried, Lord, pray have mercy on me, and in terror began to repent. But before 'twas complete, until sure she was free, Barbary drew up her loft ladder, tight turned her key, Tim bringing up breakfast and dinner and tea, till the news of her hiding got vent. Then followed the custom-kept rout, shout, and flare of a skimmington right through the neighbourhood, ere folk had proof o' old Sweatley's decay. Whereupon decent people all stood in a stare, saying Tim and his lodger should risk it, and pair, so he took her to church. And some laughing lads there cried to Tim, after Sweatley. She said, I declare I stand as a maiden today. Written 1866, printed 1875. Heiress and architect for a W.B. She sought the studios, beckoning to her side an arch designer, for she planned to build. He was of wise contrivance, deeply skilled in every intervolve of high and wide, well fit to be her guide. Whatever it be, responded he, with cold, clear voice, and cold, clear view, in true accord with prudent fashionings for such vicissitudes as living brings, and thwarting not the law of stable things, that will I do. Shape me, she said, high halls with tracery and open ogive work, that scent and hue of buds, and travelling bees, may come in through, the note of birds, and singings of the sea, for these are much to me. An idle whim broke forth from him whom naught could warm to gallantries, seed all these buds and birds, the zephyr's call, and scents, and hues, and things that falter all, and choose as best the close and surly wall, for winter's freeze. Sketch of people carrying a large object upstairs, then frame, she cried, wide fronts of crystal glass, that I may show my laughter and my light, light like the sun's by day, the stars by night, till rival heart queens, envying, wail, alas, her glory, as they pass. O maid misled, he sternly said, whose facile foresight pierced her dire, where shall abide the soul when, sick of glee, it shrinks, and hides, and prays no eye may see? Those house them best who house for secrecy, for you will tire. A little chamber, then, with swan and dove ranged thickly, and engrailed with rare device of reds and purples, for a paradise wherein my love may greet me, I my love, when he shall know thereof. This, too, is ill, he answered still, the man who swayed her like a shade. An hour will come when sight of such sweet nook would bring a bitterness too sharp to brook, when brighter eyes have won away his look, for you will fade. Then said she faintly, oh, contrive some way, some narrow winding turret, quite mine own, to reach a loft where I may grieve alone. It is a slight thing, hence do not, I pray, this last dear fancy slay. Such winding ways fit not your days, said he, the man of measuring eye, I must even fashion as my rule declares, to wit, give space, since life ends unawares, to hale a coffined corpse adown the stairs, for you will die. 1867. The two men. There were two youths of equal age, wit, station, strength, and parentage. They studied at the self-same schools, and shaped their thoughts by common rules. One pondered on the life of man, his hopes, his ending, and began to rate the market's sordid war as something scarce worth living for. I'll brace to higher aims, said he, I'll further truth and purity, thereby to mend the mortal lot and sweeten sorrow. Thrive I not, winning their hearts, my kind will give enough that I may lowly live, and house my love in some dim dell, for pleasing them and theirs so well. Idly attired, with features wan, in secret swift he laboured on, such press of power had brought much gold applied to things of meaner mould. Sometimes he wished his aims had been to gather gains like other men, then thanked his God he'd traced his track too far for wish to drag him back. He looked from his loft one day to where his slighted garden lay, nettles and hemlock hid each lawn, and every flower was starved and gone. He fainted in his heart, whereon he rose, and sought his plighted one, resolved to lose her bond withal, lest she should perish in his fall. He met her with a careless air, as though he'd ceased to find her fair, and said, "True love is dust to me, I cannot kiss, I tire of thee." That she might scorn him was he fain, to put her sooner out of pain, for incensed love breathes quick and dies, when famished love a lingering lies. Once done, his soul was so betossed, it found no more the force it lost. Hope was his only drink and food, and hope extinct, decay ensued. And, living long so closely penned, he had not kept a single friend. He dwindled thin as phantoms be, and drooped to death in poverty. Meantime his schoolmate had gone out to join the fortune-finding rout. He liked the winnings of the mart, but wearied of the working part. He turned to seek a privy lair, neglecting note of garb and hair, and day by day reclined and thought how he might live by doing naught. "I plan a valued scheme," he said to some, "but lend me of your bread, and when the vast result looms nigh, in profit you shall stand as I." Yet they took counsel to restrain their kindness till they saw the gain, and, since his substance now had run, he rose to do what might be done. He went unto his love by night, and said, "My love, I faint in fight, deserving as thou dost a crown, my cares shall never drag thee down." He had descried a maid whose line would hand her on much corn and wine, and held her far in worth above one who could only pray and love. But this fair reed him, whence he failed to do the deed so blithely hailed. He saw his projects wholly marred, and gloom and want oppressed him hard, till, living to so mean an end, whereby he'd lost his every friend, he perished in a pauper sty, his mate the dying pauper nigh. And moralists, reflecting, said, as dust to dust in burial reed was echoed from each coffin lid, these men were like in all they did. 1866 lines spoken by Miss Ada Rehan at the Lyceum Theatre, the 23rd of July 1890, at a performance on behalf of Lady Jeanne's Holiday Fund for City Children. Before we part to alien thoughts and aims, permit the one brief word the occasion claims. When mumming and grave projects are allied, perhaps an epilogue is justified. Our under-purpose has, in truth, today commanded most our musings, least the play, a purpose futile but for your goodwill swiftly responsive to the cry of ill, a purpose all too limited, to aid frail human flowerets, cichlid by the shade, in winning some short spell of upland breeze, or strengthening sunlight on the level leas. Who has not marked, where the full cheek should be, incipient lines of lank flaccidity, lymphatic pallor where the pink should glow, and where the throb of transport, pulses low, most tragical of shapes from pole to line? O wondering child, unwitting time's design, why should art add to nature's quandary, and worsen ill by thus immuring thee? That races do despite unto their own, that might supernal do indeed condone wrongs individual for the general ease, instance the proof in victims such as these. Launched into thoroughfares too thronged before, mothered by those whose protest is no more. Vitalized without option, who shall say that did life hang on choosing, yea or nay, they had not scorned it with such penalty, and nothingness implored of destiny. and yet behind the horizon smiles serene the down, the cornland, and the stretching green space, the child's heaven, scenes which at least ensure some palliative for ill they cannot cure. Dear friends, now moved by this poor show of ours to make your own long joy in buds and bowers for one brief while the joy of infant eyes, changing their urban murk to paradise, you have our thanks. May your reward include more than our thanks, far more, their gratitude. I look into my glass, and view my wasting skin, and say, would God it came to pass my heart had shrunk as thin. For then, I, undistressed by hearts grown cold to me, could lonely wait my endless rest with equanimity. But time, to make me grieve, part steals, lets part abide, and shakes this fragile frame at eve with throbbings of noontide. Asterisk 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 End of the Project Gutenberg ebook Wessex Poems and Other Verses asterisk 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 Updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works. By using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg, you agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Symbol Electronic Works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg. 1.e.1 The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that, You pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1. Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2. Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3 Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4 Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5 Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6 Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116. 801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.